Drake, one of the biggest rappers in the world, if not the biggest, has written for the likes of Kanye West and has faced ghostwriting allegations from Quentin Miller. However, did you know that Drake used to write for Dr. Dre all the way back in 2005 when he was just 19 years old? Yes, before So Far Gone, and just right, around that Degrassi era going forward. Drake was already writing for one of the biggest producers in the hip hop community and one of the most legendary producers ever in Dr. Dre. Now, how did this happen? As far as the sources, DJ Booth as well as Kids Take Over were some of the sources that allowed me to find this out. Dr. Dre apparently heard one of Drake's early songs from 2005 and wanted to invite him for some writing sessions. Of course, Dr. Dre, he needed proof from Drake to make sure that, all right, you're the one that are actually writing the track, which, is good for validation to see, make sure it's like, all right, there ain't nobody else writing this. So, of course, once that was validated, Dre invited him over, and all the way back in 2005, Drake had to fax it to him. It wasn't like he texted it or emailed. Faxed him the written lyrics using his mom's fax machine on her bedroom. And this also gets officially confirmed by DJ Booth, who reached to John Seabrook. Now, John Seabrook was originally the person who broke out this story. However, there's some misconceptions with his story. John said that this was done under Death Row Records as opposed to Aftermath Records, which is wrong. Death Row Records was when Drake was around 10 years old, and we don't have a 10-year-old Drake that's just going to be able to write for Dr. Dre, as funny as that sounds, or as great as it could be. But of course, DJ Booth and John talking and clarifying that, no, this was when Drake was 19. This was in 2005. And of course, writing for Dr. Dre, Dr. Dre had Aftermath Records. Drake told Seabrook that he and his longtime collaborator, Noah 40 Shabib, was paid $10,000 for their work and lived in Los Angeles at the Oakwood Apartments. During that time, obviously nothing came out of their work, as fans would eventually, unfortunately, find out that Dr. Dre wouldn't release a project till 2015's Compton. And from Drake himself, there hasn't been nothing substantial that came out of anything he wrote. And from Dr. Dre, he hasn't released anything either during those sessions. I was like, yeah, this is all the way back from when Drake wrote it. We actually have a Drake quote here where he says, "It was some of the most strenuous, militant shit I've ever done. But no usable songs came out of it. When I think of how he worked us, it's no wonder he didn't get anything out of it. It was just writers in a room churning out product all day long." Now, it's interesting because it appears Dr. Dre could have originally been the protege for Drake, and instead of Drake and Lil Wayne, it could have been Drake and Dr. Dre. So what exactly happened where this relationship didn't continue on, or Drake didn't remain with Aftermath Records camp or Dr. Dre's camp? Unfortunately, girls got in the way. Drake was in a relationship, so whenever you got 10 bands and you start getting caught up, he was flying out his girl, he was buying fancy hotel rooms, and eventually he ended up missing one of Dr. Dre's studio session. Dr. Dre, of course, sent Drake and 40 all the way back home to Toronto, and this was something that Drake even himself said was a huge lesson.
He gave me a $10,000 check. It was the most money I'd ever had in my life, and at the time I was in a relationship. So I got the money and I called my girl and I flew my girl down to LA, and I was like, oh, we could get a hotel. This is crazy. It was just a joyous moment for me. And I had missed studio, or I had done something wrong I had let my mind deviate from work, and I had missed something. And next thing I know, I was sent home, and that was kind of it. And it was a huge life lesson for me, When Drake came out at the Forum, I brought him the $10,000 check because I had saved the actual hard copy of it, even though I got the money for it.
Yeah. And that is pretty insane to that be the reason you're not able to collaborate or continue on with one of the greatest producers ever. And in 2016, Drake brought Dre out on stage in LA to perform and give him back the OG physical copy of the $10,000 check, which is a nice full circle moment. And with this, that is how Drake at 19 years old, all the way back in 2005, was writing for Dr. Dre. Pretty insane, right? Just seeing everything go full circle. With that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.